right, well, welcome everyone to this month's specialist webinar. I have a very special guest for you guys tonight, Bill Beausay, and he's going to explain nerves of steel, basically getting through to talking to people, talking to the sellers, getting the deals done the way you need to be getting them done. So I would like to introduce you now to Bill. Bill, are you there?
I am here, Elsa. Thanks.
I'm glad to have you on tonight. Tonight's going to be awesome.
This will be fun.
So let's get started.
I'll take it away, Elsa. I'd like to start off by just saying thank you and your whole team, Sean and everybody there, REI Resources, for really doing such a great job at what you do. You're such a great support to everybody out there that's trying to, make it happen in this arena. And on behalf of all of them, I'd like to say thank you. It was kind of funny. In fact, I looked at all the stuff that you were putting out about this talk here tonight, and I looked at this and I thought, man, maybe they got the wrong guy, because whoever you got on here tonight sounds like he's pretty good. It kind of reminded me of that joke. This guy went to a business conference. He came home, and as he walked in the front door, his wife is standing there, and she's all dressed up and has like luggage all around her. And he says, "What's going on?" She says, "I'm out of here." He says, "What do you mean?" She says, "I can't take it anymore. I'm leaving." He says, "Well, is there another man?" She says, "There's got to be." So I'm just here to tell you, I can promise you one thing. It's the only dumb joke you're going to get tonight, because I'll steer away from all of them. But I just want to say thank you, Elsa, for having me on here. And I'd also like to just say welcome to everybody. My name is Bill Beausay, and I'm the creator of MindRev Labs and MindRev Training Seminars. As I was thinking about this, I was thinking it's kind of funny how when you're really born for something, you really, really want to do it well. Well, I guess you could say that, I've really driven tonight to give you the most I can in the shortest amount of time. And I got to assure you, this hour is going to just rip by, so buckle up. You might even want to take some notes, because what I'm talking about here is probably stuff you've never heard before. I hope maybe you had a chance to look at some of my videos that are online, some of the promo stuff that Elsa sent out. That'll kind of get you up to speed on who I am and what I do. I'm not going to waste a lot of time tonight going into that, but if you want to Google me, you'll find me. I'm pretty easy to find on the internet, and I'm sure you'll find the story spellbinding. And that's my second dumb joke. It's kind of funny. Everybody comes to a webinar like this with all kinds of different hopes and needs. Maybe you're just curious. Maybe you need some serious help. What I found, though, is that everybody wants a little more of something. You got a dream. You want to quit your job. You want to send your kid to college or buy a house or get a better car or a boat, or you love to challenge your own business, or you're just competitive, or maybe you want to go into business for your kids. Maybe it's just to fulfill a life dream. Everybody has something and they want just a little bit more. And, you come into this because you've envisioned a success for yourself, and you know that you can achieve it, and you've chosen real estate as the way to do it. But then reality hits, and you get stuck. Sometimes you choke at big moments. You get intimidated and a little bit afraid. Elsa and I were talking. She's the one that gave me the statistic that only 3% of the people that actually buy a course actually go out and do a deal. Now, I don't know about you, but that shocked me when I heard that. I mean, I was stunned. Sure, there's a lot to be afraid of in this business. There's attorneys involved. There's people you don't know, and you're dealing with usually in an arena that you don't know a lot about. So it's the cause of a lot of panic and freezing. And you can really hold yourself back in moments that are critical to making money, like those moments like buying or selling or negotiating a deal or raising money from investors, or maybe wholesaling your dealer, dealing with contractors. All this stuff can be really intimidating. And if you get stuck, man, I know exactly where you're at, because I've done it too. But listen, let me just say this. You didn't get into this business to just dream about how great it'll be when you get that bustling business. You got into this business to make some great deals and make some money. And that choking thing where you get stuck, I know is I'm sitting here right now, and as you're sitting there, that happens to all of us, no matter if you're no matter if you've never done a deal or you've done 100. Let's put it this way, the important work of just being an entrepreneur can be pretty daunting if you've never done it, or if you have that habit of freezing. I developed MindRev training to help you find your own action gear, so to speak, so you can move quickly on these things. So these deals don't slip by and you grab them. It's to kind of help you break free of that horrible stuck spot. If you've watched the video, I've talked a lot about that. I've spent my whole career helping people activate their best talent at clutch moments, to have more confidence and more focus, more control, more action. And let me tell you, that's what I'm going to show you how to do here tonight. Of course, I've got a course I'm going to introduce to you, but I'm going to show you a couple ththings that you can do right now to make yourself really more ferocious, as I call it, in the moment. Can you just imagine if you could act that way on command whenever you wanted to? If there was only a way that you could do that, you'd be making a lot more deals every day. Well, let me tell you, there is a way, and I'm going to share with you what it is. I use a real simple tool that I've created. Again, I've worked with all kinds of levels of executives and athletes and successful people in a lot of different spheres. And I've learned some of the things that they do to be very successful in breaking through these freeze moments, because everybody has these. I want to show you this tool, and I'm going to ask you to run like mad with it. I've taught this and several other tools in my MindRev collection to thousands of people. And I've had the good fortune to have people come back and tell me that it's really, really worked for them. Let's get started. Let's just jump in and let me show you what I'm talking about. We've all been here. We all know how this feels. But how about this? Here's the way I describe it in the course, and I'll explain it to you now. Somewhere between where you are right now and what you want for yourself, that goal out there, there's a wall. It's a tough wall. As you hit it a lot, and maybe it's a deal, maybe it's a certain situation or circumstance, maybe it's a certain person, or maybe it's a type of deal, or maybe it's some thing you've got in your past life that you're scared all the time, or maybe you don't think you're very attractive, or you think you're dumb. It doesn't matter. This is a wall that you can't get past, and you're stuck. And you're stuck on this side, and you're so frustrated, man. You know you can do what it takes, but this wall stops you. How do you get past that thing? Well, you need to do basically two things.
Oh, girl, slick back.
Whoop! Can you hear me? Can you hear me there, Elsa? Are we good?
I can hear you. You're fine.
Okay, good enough. You need to get through that wall, you need to do basically two things. Number one, you got to find it. Like, where the heck is it? And if you've been stuck in your life, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You got to find the thing. And then number two, you need some kind of tool that you can bust through. Well, here's the deal. You can't see it, and the reason you can't see the wall in your life is because it's not real. Let me tell you what I mean. That wall that you run into, it's actually just a belief you have. Now, you've probably heard before someone say that your beliefs are the limits of what you can do in your own life. If you believe that you can make great deals, then it's possible for you to do it. But a lot of people, including perhaps you, have got a belief limit set way too close to you. Well, how do you find that? Okay, so it's unseen, it's not real, but it seems to stop you. It sure feels like it's real. What do you do? How do you find the darn thing? Here's the key, and you might want to write this part down. Every time you get near that wall, your behavior starts to change. And you can observe this in your own self. And then let me give you just a couple of ideas how this sounds like. The closer you get to that wall, the more you're going to hear what I call head trash. Head trash is stuff like, oh, I don't know if I can do this, or oh, I'm not going to stop by and see if that owner's home today and talk to him. It's just a bad day. The weather's turning bad. It's too late in the afternoon, or, it's almost the weekend and they're not going to want to talk to anybody, or, I've never been very good on these kinds of houses, or, and then you start to, maybe you get mad at yourself. And some of you know the feeling of sitting outside of a house that you want to go make an offer on. You sit out there for an hour talking to yourself, grinding it up and being mad. And you start to sweat. And you start to get out of the car and you get back in. All this stuff means that it only means one thing. A lot of people, it's very easy to think what I got to do is I got to stop talking to myself and do all that stuff and doing these kinds of head trash things. Well, the reality is all that means is that you're near the edge of what you believe is possible for you. That's what you need to write down for yourself. And we're going to expand that wall tonight. We're going to push that out just a little bit. How do you break through that? How do you break through that? In the course, I teach 4 basic rules, and these are things you might want to really look at carefully. The 4 rules are these. Number 1, your brain is not you. Now, that strikes some people as kind of strange. What do you mean it's not you? It's actually all it is. It's a tool that you use. It's a tool that you use to get through your life. Number 2 is that you are actually your attention and where you point it. So get the difference here. Your brain is not you. It's a tool that you use, and you are your attention wherever you put it. And you're constantly shifting all your attention around to different places. Number 3, your brain can and does run everything if you just let it. In other words, if you focus your attention up elsewhere, your brain's just going to run off and do all kinds of stuff, and it will take care of your whole life. Believe me, your brain really only has 2 jobs. It's to keep you safe and to keep you comfortable. Hey, Elsa, can you hear me okay? I'm hearing somebody come in on us. Is that? Oh.
Yeah. I'm going through trying to mute everybody else.
Okay. I think you got whoever it was. That sounded what they were talking about was pretty interesting. Okay.
Can't be as interesting as what you're doing.
Well, let's see. We'll find out here in a minute. It's going to get better. So let's just go back. I hope you've had a chance to read through these, but remember that you are your attention, and it's always going. And when your attention is on one thing, your brain is handling a mountain of other stuff, and it will run everything for you. It will do everything for you until you focus your attention on different things, on what it's doing. And this is one of the keys, this last one here. Now, we're not going to really have a chance to get into this tonight much, but I'm going to just tell you, your brain silently controls you with unseen, really fast-moving chains of sensory experience. Now, I'm going to explain to you what that means real simply, and that is your brain's job, as I mentioned, is to keep you safe and keep you comfortable. That's all its job is. And the way it does that is by scaring you back into the pocket, by scaring you away from that wall. If you get close to that wall, it has this belief that you can't go further, and it's going to start to throw up all this head trash to scare you. Now, you got to keep that in mind, because you are not doing that. Your brain is doing that. And anytime you want to, you can break out of that. You can start to think different things. You can change what it's thinking, but you have to take the bull by the horns here. The problem is, a lot of us didn't know that your brain was running off on you. And I'm telling you, please write this down somewhere. If you are suddenly having a miserable day, or feeling miserably scared or tired or overwhelmed, it's because your brain is running off on you. And when we go here in just the next couple of slides here, you'll see what it's doing and how you can interrupt it and change it and really radically change yourself real quickly. Okay, so now you know how to find your wall. That actually, all those times that you're talking to yourself and being mad at yourself, all that is that your brain saying, hey, you're not supposed to go over here. And let me assure you, your brain is the enemy of excellence. I say that in the course, and I'm telling you now, your brain does not want you to be successful, because that's scary and it's not safe. Do you understand? So what we want to do here is find out how your brain naturally does things. How does your brain naturally make you afraid and push you back? How is your brain naturally running things to push you away from this wall? And how, as I like to say, how can we weaponize this? How can we take advantage of that process your brain's already doing to put it to use for you to make you stronger? This is what we're going to do. I'm going to tell you 3 real simple stories. And what I want you to do is I want you to find a thread in each of these stories. Because in the thread of these 3 stories is the cure for this problem, or this breakthrough problem we're talking about right now. The first story goes like this. I was asked one time to coach with a very, very young insurance salesperson. It was a girl in her late 20s, and she had just gotten in the business, and she was scared to death. Her general agent thought she had tremendous potential, but she was absolutely petrified. They called me and said, can you help this girl break through? I sat down with her. The first question I asked her was this. It was kind of a weird question, but I said, how do you make yourself miserable? She stopped, and she looked at me, and then she started to stare. It's a strange question. How do you make yourself miserable? And she said something really, really interesting. She said, you know what I do? She says, I decide what I want to do, and then I start thinking of everything that can go wrong. Let me repeat that. She said, I think of what I want to get done, and then I think of everything that can go wrong. And I said, like what? She said, well, like maybe the people aren't going to be home when I do cold calls, or they're not going to want to hear from me because they know that my agency has the highest rates. And, we have a high rate of windshield damage around here, and they're not going to want to hear from us because they know that the windshield's. And she started going, just this list of stuff. She was generating this list of reasons to be afraid. I was kind of shocked. That was the first story. Here's the second story. Same thread, totally different story. I woke up one morning. I live in Denver, and it was very, very sunny here, as it is most mornings. I looked out the window, and it was cold, and I did not want to get out of bed. It was chilly, and although it was pretty day, didn't want to get up. I lay after about maybe 10 or 15 seconds. I can't even tell you why this happened. I don't know, but I started thinking, it's kind of great. It's good to be alive. I'm glad I'm alive today. I mean, a lot of people waking up dead today. I'm alive. That's good. And I thought, my wife and I started a new diet. I'm kind of excited about what we're going to have for breakfast. And I thought, after a while, I'm supposed to get together with the grandkids after a while. And that's kind of exciting. And I thought, boy, it's great to be alive, have these things to look forward to, nice blue sky. And I went through the whole sequence again. And you know what? In about maybe 30 seconds, I was filled with such energy, man. I jumped out of bed and I took off, and it was a great day. It was the weirdest thing because I felt this sudden, awesome surge of energy when maybe 60 seconds before I was sitting there thinking, I don't want to get out of bed. It was kind of strange. Then let me tell you the third story. Totally different story, same thread. One time, true story, several years ago, my wife and I are drinking wine in front of the fireplace. She said, just kind of out of the blue, she said, you know what? I think I'm going to get myself another glass of wine. She got up. She walked out of the room. And probably 10 seconds after she left the room, I started thinking to myself, why did she ask me if I wanted a glass of wine? And then I thought, almost immediately after that, I thought, well, she never asked me if I want wine. And then the thought immediately after that is, she doesn't really do much for me. And then the one after that is, she doesn't do much around this house at all. And then I said, in fact, I do everything around here. All she had to do was ask me for a glass of wine. Then I went back through the whole string again. She never asked me if I want wine. And you know what? She came back in that room in 2 minutes, and I was a raging maniac. I was like out of control. And guess what? I did it all to myself. What's the thread that runs through all these stories? Write it down somewhere if you can. What's the thread that runs through all the stories? When I tell you the thread, you're going to realize that you found a piece of gold about how you can really get a hold of the horns of your brain, because your brain does this naturally all the time. And it does it very effectively, and it can make you feel all kinds of things that you didn't intend it to feel. Let's talk about what it is. I call it spooling. I got this term, by the way, from the aviation industry. When they start up a jet engine, they throw the gas in. Actually, they start a jet engine by just blowing air through it, and it starts to whirl, and it goes faster and faster. Then they kick the igniters on, and the thing really starts to spin faster and faster, and starts to put out a tremendous amount of energy. It's called spooling. That's how they start an engine. We'll have to ask Elsa about this. She's a pilot in training. Here's the rule, and this is an important one. Whatever you revolve around in your head gets stronger. When you revolve anything in your head, it gets stronger. It gains strength. Let's go to the second level here. Whether you are aware of it or not, it doesn't matter. And you are unaware of 90% of what your brain is spooling around inside your head. I'm telling you, your brain is doing this all the time. That's how it generates, and it does this real fast. You can go to very happy to very miserable. You can take yourself there real quick because of this spooling. Just remember the rule. Whatever you spool, intentional or not, gets stronger. And this can be good or bad things. Now, this is really kind of interesting because if you think about it, here's where we have a tool that we can do something with. And please remember this. Your brain does this all the time. That's why I tell people sometimes, it doesn't matter. You can do this system if you want to or not. Your brain's going to do it either way. This is how your brain works. This is how your brain gins up, spools up strong feelings in you very, very fast. And if you start to think about what's happening inside your head when you get very, very frightened, you'll see that this is absolutely true. This is the process that happens that makes you scared out of your wits to take action in the moment. Your brain is spooling things behind your back and creating what I call unconscious feelings. This is stuff where you're just thinking, oh my gosh, I can't do this. I'm scared. I can't make the move. I'm frozen. These are all unconscious feelings that your brain did while you weren't paying attention to it. Well, now this is kind of interesting. What can we do with this? Well, this is the kicker, and this is where things get really interesting. You can actually spool up anything you want, anything. The question is, how big can you think? What kind of things do you want to spool up? What kind of feelings do you really what kind of things would you really, really like to have? Here's a good question. What would help you break through your wall? Think about this. Would more confidence, would more inner strength, would more mental toughness, would more having a better, stronger personal vibe, would having more energy? I don't know. You have to decide. And I want you to write down 2 or 3 things that are what I would call antidote feelings, antidote to the feeling of whatever you feel at your wall. And by the way, let me tell you something. Everybody feels something really different. When they hit the wall and they smack into it and they can't move, they're all feeling something different in different parts of their body. When I get terrified to go meet somebody new, I can feel it up and down my spine in the back, and I almost get paralyzed. In fact, I almost can't move, and I sit there and I start hallucinating pictures in my mind. This is what I used to do. I recognize it now, but I think to myself, what's the antidote? What would be the antidote to this? And you need to know for yourself exactly what your antidote is. I can't tell you what your antidote is. It could be anything. It could be inner peace. It could be just a quiet urge to ask someone if you can help them. It could be, I don't know what it is for you, but you need to know. And you know what I found out? This is the craziest thing. The people that most often get stuck in front of the wall and can't move don't know what they want. So if you don't know right now, don't let that worry you much. But you need to start the process of figuring out what your antidotes are and what the antidote feeling would be for you. I would encourage you to start here. Again, in the course, there's an extensive list of things that you can go through to start to understand what you need. But it could be things. It could be things like confidence. It could be inner focus. It might be a sense of calm in the face of fear. It could be a sense of energy. Sometimes people, when they get really scared, they kind of shut down on the inside and they get listless and they just get cold and frozen, and then they yell at themselves and get mad, or their husband or wife gets mad and yells at them. You can't believe how often this happens inside couples. I mean, particularly in investor couples. Boy, they can really, this can add fuel to the fire. Those of you who are in a relationship with your significant other in the real estate business and one isn't pulling the other weight, you know exactly what I'm talking about. This can be an added stress that really can be really devastating. You need to identify 2 or 3 things that would really make a difference for you, and then we need to learn how to spool those up. Let's talk about how to do that. It's basically this, and in a minute I'm going to show you a video that will put this all into play, but I want you to think about creating antidotes and what that means. What I would like you to do is think in your own mind about 3 or 4 times that you had that feeling in your life. When you think about it, in fact, boil down your antidote list to 1. Confidence is a real big one. Self-confidence, I hear this all the time. Self-confidence. Well, you know what? What does that mean? What does self-confidence mean to you? We're just going to use that as an example. Does it mean that you stand straighter? Does it mean that you have the eye of the tiger? Does it mean that you breathe slower and calm yourself down and have energy build up? See, it means different things to different people. That's why you need to identify for yourself. What's it feel like, and when's the last time you felt it? In fact, better than that, come up with 2 or 3 times if you can. That's where we're going with this. But let's just start with 1. Think of a time in the last 24 hours, and be as specific as you can, where you felt confidence, even if it was just for a few minutes. Think about that time. Now, one of the challenges of doing this on a webinar such as this is you may have you put yourself under pressure and you can't think. You can't think of a good time that you felt really comfortable. Think of this. Think of the last time you did. You walked into a store and you bought something, and you walked confidently up to the cash register, even if it's an automatic one, and you bought that loaf of bread and you walked out with utter confidence. That's an example of confidence. Now, it's not a very good one, but it'll work. Do you see what I mean? You do confident things every single day, and you don't even give yourself credit for it. You actually have lots of experiences with confidence in your mind. I want you to think of one, and I want you to embellish it a little bit. Make it so clear, so real that you can almost reach out and just touch it. Make it so real that you can just see it. And spend 10 or 15 or 20 seconds really just sort of immersing yourself in that one picture. I'm going to give you just 10 seconds just to look at the picture of that time you were confident. See what you saw, hear what you heard, and feel the different kind of things you felt. I'm going to give you 10 seconds. Go ahead.
Hey, Bill?
Yeah.
Nothing on the screen. It's a black screen.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm going to start the video in a minute.
Oh, okay.
Okay, here. For those of you who want to look at something, I'll put that back up there for you. There we go. Thanks, folks. I'm sorry about that. I was going to start the video, but I got going on something else I wanted you to know about. Okay, so you got that one picture. Now, create 2 or 3 more. And what I like to do, for me, is I like to set them up in front of me. So I see a picture in front of me, then I see another one, and then another one. Exactly like the 3 stories I told you. I don't know how you heard those stories I told you, if you saw those pictures in a line, or if you heard them in a string, or how they're arranged inside your head, but it doesn't matter. You need 2 or 3 really good experiences with confidence. And then you do it, you run through them exactly the way you did in each of those 3 stories. And like I said, remember the rule. Whatever you spin your mind through gets stronger. So what you're trying to do here is you're taking a very, very specific feeling like self-confidence, and you're thinking of 3 or 4 really great experiences you had with them, and then individually going through them and going a little faster and a little faster every time. Okay, let me play this video for you. It's about a 2-minute video that sort of explains this process and how it works. We good, Elsa?
We good.
Okay, let's go.
There's no audio.
Oh, that's okay. There's no audio. Just read it. Now, pay attention on this one, folks. This is what really happens on the inside of you. All right. Now, I'll tell you what we're going to do here, folks. I want to walk you through what we just saw, because it's exactly the same pattern as we saw in those stories. And this is the kicker. And you got to remember this. Your brain, I think you'll agree with this, your brain does this really, really fast, right? You can go from, if someone says to you right now, hey, look, I got a great lead on a house. Why don't you call this person, and they're interested in talking to you about doing a deal. Some of you will have the experience of like completely instantly freaking out. You'll instantly go through, it's not the antidote feeling, but you'll spool up a fear feeling, and your brain will start going through all the pictures. And the more you spool them, the stronger they get. And that feeling is going to get so overpowering. You'll say, I'll wait and do it tomorrow. Or, my cell phone's kind of crappy. I'll wait till I get a better one. Or who knows? You come up with some kind of a story, right? Everybody, this is what happens when you're spooling up stuff and it's going on without your approval or involvement. It's just happening outside your mind. The beauty about doing this on purpose is that you can decide what you want to feel, and B, you can decide exactly how the state you're going to put yourself in, the mental state, and it can only take seconds. One of the reasons I talk about that, one of the problems I think I had at the end of the video is as I was describing, this happens a lot to new people who are starting to use this, is that they don't spend enough time getting 3 or 4 pictures. That's all it takes. 3 or 4 experiences. Just take 2 minutes. Give 30 seconds to each one, right? And then start to spool through those individually. And then go faster and faster and faster. This whole thing should take when you're first learning it, should take 3 or 4 minutes. I know I said 20 on the video. Take 3 or 4 minutes. Just take 3 or 4 minutes. I mean, we're talking about potentially millions of dollars here that you can get. Because what will happen is when you take this antidote feeling, and as I said in the video, and you can watch it on replay to go through it again, and it's obviously in the coursework. If you take this very, very simple thing, and by the way, there's a lot of other tools that I teach. This is just the most rudimentary one. If you take this thing and spool yourself into a state, you will literally feel like you're going to jump out of your skin. Kind of like I felt that morning when I was standing there and I was going through all those things I was grateful for, and it built up such a powerful thing in me. I jumped out of bed and I did it, and I didn't even know that it was cold outside. Exactly like you spool this stuff up in yourself, and you're going to find yourself putting yourself in a state, and you do this for 2 or 3 minutes. That's all you got to do. Rotate it round and round and round and faster, and you're going to build up such an energy that you're going to go do the thing that scares you, and you're not even going to know it scared you. You won't even realize it. And it's the most bizarre thing that, your belief wall, it goes back to this whole idea that your brain isn't you and it's making these belief walls and they're not real. Those belief walls are not real. And the more you spool up this energetic state inside of you and then just go do what you're going to do, I call testing it. Because sometimes, what happens is this. You can spool yourself into such a state and you can go to the wall and you still fail. You still get scared and run away. It happens, man. This is real life. All that means is that you need better pictures to spool through. And you're going to need to go and you're going to need to comb through your mind and find 3 or 4 really powerful experiences you had of confidence. We're using that as the antidote here. And that might take you a while. It might take you a few days to come up with a few. I don't know, however long it takes. You may be able to come up with them quickly. In the course, I encourage people to start a library of these experiences that you remember it with great detail and vividness so that you can use those things. In fact, I tell people to put them on 3x5 cards and carry them with them. If you have a great experience out in the world now and you do the thing that you're most afraid to do, you got to write that down on a 3x5 card and keep it, because that becomes part of the library that you can spool from. And I'm telling you, I have personally, and I've seen it in thousands of people, they have spooled up incredible new power states inside themselves by using this tool and using it just exactly the way I've showed you. Let me just talk here about, because, we're going to be talking again next week. Now, we have thanks to Elsa and the team at REI Resources, we got a really, really good opportunity here because we're going to meet again next week. You have the opportunity right now to do that one big deal that you've been thinking about, the one that scared the crap out of you. The one, maybe it's, it's buying a piece of commercial property or a, multifamily or, maybe it's that great big, 7-figure house that you've been afraid to go talk to the owner about. There's some in your life, there's one big deal that you've been thinking about but you haven't been able to do it. I want you to ask yourself this question right below here, because this is a good one down here. What's the one quality that if you had it would change everything in your life? What's the one quality that would change everything. And I want you to start thinking about it. Remember a couple minutes ago, I told you that one of the biggest problems I have coaching people through this system is that they've never really thought about how they want to feel about things. They've never really thought. They've said, it's very common when I talk to people who are stuck and choke all the time in their real estate deals. They say, I just don't want to be afraid. I just don't want to be terrorized. I just don't want to be intimidated. I don't want to be freaked out by company. It's real easy to tell me what they don't want. I know what they don't want. What I want to know is, what do they do want? Tell me what the power state is you want. Can you describe it for me? Can you do it in detail? In the course, we go into this in great detail about describing in exquisite detail what you want. I want to be able to walk tall. I want to feel strong. On the inside, I want to feel complete calm. I want to feel complete bliss. I tell people that one of the things that I wanted for me, and this was true for me, this is years ago when I first started creating the whole basis of MindRev, I really wanted to feel nothing. That was important to me. That when I went into a deal, I wanted to be ice cold. That's what I wanted to do. So I worked, and I've created a very, very, very simple system. It's not spooling. It's another tool I use called Parallax, which I teach in the course, where I can make myself instantly ice cold. I feel nothing, and I can go talk to anybody about anything. I mean, anything. It's weird, but it works, and it works very, very fast. And I can't emphasize enough the importance of using speed on this to make these things rotate all this stuff quicker. That speed, doing this fast inside your mind, that's how you make it unconscious, so it just becomes a part of you. Now, remember this. Your belief wall never really goes away. It just moves out a little bit, and it moves you, it upgrades you to the next level up, and it gives you a new chance to try something new and to spool up something new and go. By the way, I may as well tell you that in this standing in front of the wall and breaking through, I really use three tools. One is called spooling, which we've talked about. Yet there's some details we just don't have time to go into, but what I've taught you will work if you do it. Number two is what I call chaining. This is for building really powerful interpersonal power states. It's involved with going into some of those pictures and altering some of the key dynamic dimensions that make them work. And the third one is called parallax. Parallax is all these tools work quite differently, but parallax is for about really developing a new you. That's why I say, one of the reasons I really love the real estate industry is to put your butt on the line. It makes you step up and change yourself, because most people are not born deal makers. They just aren't. Most people are not born entrepreneurs. They've gotten into this because they've got some other goal, and this is their vehicle, and they have to learn how to do this. And I'm telling you, I just don't know very many businesses that you can get in that are as lucrative, as capable of changing lives, and better yet, capable of changing you, than the real estate industry. So I make kind of a big deal about that, I've got to share another thing with you that's really very true. I'm not one of these people that believes everyone is destined for greatness. I just don't. I've met too many people that they're not great people. They've just never wanted more. They've never strived. They've never had any ambition. But I assure you something. If you've ever looked yourself in a mirror and said to yourself, I can do this, then you are one of the few that I love working with. At least one time in your life, you've had to believe that you could reach higher and you could make this real estate business go. And if you are, then you're one of the chosen ones, man, and I can help you. All you got to bring to the table is just a little bit of a burn, even if it's just a little bit of a flicker. I'll tell you what, if you're saying to yourself right now, I'd like to learn more about this, this could help me, I'm going to encourage you to come and join my team. Let me just tell you a little bit about what is in this Nerves of Steel package. Then I'm going to go back and tell you a couple more things about spooling that will be helpful to you. I actually offer two packages tonight. I'm going to offer a special thing for Elsa that's and everybody on the call, but it's basically this Nerves of Steel package includes, it's a 1-year unlimited access to my private online training library. Now, I got to tell you something. I do everything. All my online courses are done through an outfit called Lightspeed VT. This is probably the most advanced and sophisticated online training that you can get. After every video that runs 5 plus or minus 2 minutes, there's tests you have to take. I can monitor that and find out how you're doing. but it is the best learning platform I've ever seen. There's 25 training videos where you're going to learn the MindRev basics, including a couple of chaining techniques, and we go into parallax on that as well. Monthly group training calls where you work with me. But these Power Punch audios, what I've done is I've created audios that you use prior to important engagements to basically remind you of what we've done here and to give you some audio encouragement to get back, to do the spooling when you need, to do the chaining and the parallax techniques that you learn. I've also got a members-only Facebook community page, and I'm going to be I come out with a lot of packages for a lot of other things. In fact, I'm getting ready to release a package just for sales people. So you get exclusive Your Eyes Only previews of coming products. If you want to order this, just go to mindrevlabs.com. The normal package, the normal investment is $99.99 for all that. Tonight, I'm giving all the REI people a special $500 discount. So you can get all that I just said for $499. Just use the coupon code when you sign up. And I'm offering one other thing tonight for Elsa and the people at REI Resources. I am offering this the standalone trading. That's not without all the other things. It's normally $499 just for the video training, but tonight I'll give you a $200 discount, so the total cost on that will be $299. I think when you go to MindRev Labs, the sign up page will look like this. Just go ahead and enroll. You'll see this down here for competitive athletes. Don't worry about that. I put together a very, very short training. If you have kids that are soccer players or baseball players and they want to get better, that's a pretty good course. I do some real simple MindRev things. One of the things I'm really committed to young people learning how to control their brains, because so many of them just let their brains run, as we all do. We all let our brains kind of run off and do whatever it wants to do, and we never really learn the basics of controlling a brain that's not you. It's a powerful thing. Let me just share with you as well one thing about spooling that I think is pretty vital, and that is that you can actually help other people around you spool good things as well. Now that you've learned what you've learned, you're going to start to notice that the people around you, maybe your partners, maybe your spouse, maybe your kids, maybe the people you're doing business with, their brains are running away on them. One of the things we do in training is we talk a little bit about the fact that you can watch people bring their conversations into their conversation with you. When you're sitting there talking to someone, a buyer or a seller, they're not really listening to you. They're off in another world. They're off in another parallax world. That's what the parallax thing's all about. It's very interesting because if you watch people and you ask them things, ask them questions, you are going to begin to notice something very interesting. And that is if you say, tell me where you see yourself going after you sell this house. They are immediately going to go into like what I just call a trance. And they're not going to tell you that, but just watch them. They start making pictures. They start conversations in their heads, and you can watch this happen. You can watch where they put the pictures. You can you can watch them having conversations. And of course, at that time, they'll start talking to you. Let me just ask you this, and this is always kind of fun to do. Just think to yourself right now. Think about the first house you bought in your life, the very, very first house you bought. Visualize it. And you're probably doing it right now. Where are you looking? Can you point at it? Most people will point over here or over there. They'll point somewhere because they're actually creating the memory of your house somewhere. Sometimes it's outside their body. Sometimes it's inside. They're saying, well, it's just in the back of my mind. Or sometimes it's it's right here in front of me. And people in conversations do the same thing. Let me ask you this. Hear the voice of your mother. Just hear the voice of your mother. Somewhere in this 3D space around you, you can hear your mother talking. Where is it? It's different for everybody, by the way. Your brain decided where those things were going to go, by the way, not you. Your brain did. And it puts stuff there. It puts memories of your mother's voice here or there, out there, or inside, anywhere. We all have a completely different 3D theater that we live in, and all these things are inside of us in different places. I'm just going to give you a sneak peek on the nerves, because we get into a deeper part here where When you think about the really, really positive things in your life, you tend to look at them in the same place in this 3D space around you. When you think of the really negative stuff, you think of that in a completely different space. And you don't even have to try to do this. Your brain is going to do this with you or without you. It doesn't matter. It's the way it works. But the interesting thing is, now get this, you might want to write this down somewhere. You can literally take those pictures and start to move them around and completely change how you feel about things. Now, I hope this strikes you as very strange, but you can literally take a very, very negative memory that you've got, notice where you're seeing it, and then literally, as if you're moving up and grabbing it by your hands, you can move it to the plate, to the space around you that contains really good memories, happy ones. You can move it over there, and you will literally begin to feel good about really bad things. Now, I don't have a time here to go into the details of how to do it. It's a little bit deeper than we have time to go into here, but let me assure you of this. You can begin to completely rearrange your brain on your terms, not its terms. Let me say that again. You can begin to rearrange your brain on your terms. And I'm here to tell you, the land of milk and honey, of big money and real estate runs right through the middle of your ability to control your own brain. It is the most vital skill you can possibly develop for yourself. And once you know that, actually, that's really, really good news because you don't have to be subject to it anymore. In fact, I just gave you a very simple tool that you can learn to kind of play around with this a little bit. Let me assure you, I'll tell you something. The more you learn to experiment with your brain, the more you can learn to figure out how it works. Remember, it's not you. Do some of this experimenting with it, and you'll begin to learn how it works, how it performs, and you can make it perform better. And the better your brain performs, the more money you make. It's just that simple. And let's go back to this whole thing, Elsa's statistic about 3% of people actually do something. The 95% of you that are sitting on the sidelines right now are just a simple spool away from making a lot of money and doing the deals you want to make. I'll tell you guys, I'm going to... I hope I've given you enough here to start to think about this a little bit again. I want to just go over this, and then I'm going to leave you with a thought that I hope changes your life. This package is pretty good. I want you to be successful. I'm going to get on these group training calls. I'm going to make sure that you're successful at this because we're going to go one-on-one if we have to. I want you to have this power punch, and I want you to have these basics down so that they become fast and automatic. And I mean fast, like you can spool yourself into a powerful selling mode in seconds. Think what that would be worth to you. I mean, it was just, it's pretty impressive. I'm going to leave you with a real simple thought. By the way, you go to Mindrev Labs. If I haven't said that enough, I'd love to have you on board. But I want to leave you with a thought. There's a commercial that was done a while back that really touched me. When I saw it, it moved me powerfully on the inside. And I've called it the Real Estate Entrepreneur's Creed. It goes like this. It says, thank the rock in your shoe. Thank the hills you had to climb and the ones that broke your heart. Thank the haters and the doubters and the naysayers. Thank the strife. Thank the failure. Thank the struggle. And I want to tell you from the bottom of my heart, there's nothing more important to me. Nothing matters more to me than seeing people put the pedal to the metal in their own lives. Nothing frustrates me more than seeing people stuck and not knowing what to do. I want to make sure that everybody I touch in my life knows what to do with their brain so that they can go as far and as deep and as successful as they are born to be. And only you can decide that. I can't say that for you. I don't know. I don't know where you come from or what you want, but I know one thing. You want more. That's why you're hearing this call. You want more, and because that's what you do. That's what you're about. You want more because you bought a course because you want to do it. Take your course. Any course you've got, it doesn't matter. This business is about action. This business is about getting beat up. This business is about getting out there and taking your action and taking your shots and letting destiny fall in your lap. And I can tell you so many stories about deals I've seen happen that came absolutely out of the blue because someone took action. They had the hustle inside of them. They had the guts just to step up. They had the cojones just to say, let's do this. And they took a shot and it worked. Most success I've seen in my life is not because people planned it. It's because they took action and they did something that was fun and they did it with a smile on their face and they weren't afraid, but they said, let's give this a ride and see where it goes. Oh man, I hope you have more fun in your life and more fun in your business. That's really what my credo, my credo is twice the money and half the time with 10 times the fun. And I hope you'll claim that for yourself. Twice the money, half the time, 10 times the fun. You can do this. It's this close. It's this close. You can spool up whatever you want. Elsa, I know we're ending a little bit early here. I'd be happy to open this up for some questions if anybody wants to ask any. I'm wide open.
Absolutely. Anybody on here that'd like to ask questions, I'm going to unmute the people that I muted earlier. Oops. Dang it. Well, it's not letting me unmute. And, Bill, I think I accidentally just muted you. If you guys could hit... I think
you just gave me a note. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Okay, I just hit the unmute button. A button came up. I hit the unmute.
Okay. All right. Does anybody have any questions they'd like to ask Bill?
And by the way, I would be really excited if you could tell me something new that makes you stall that I've never heard before. I love dealing with this new stuff.
Nobody's got any questions or stories of deals that they've had? Wow, we got a quiet group tonight.
It's a quiet group. It's either because people are completely bored or they have no idea what to say. Let me just share one story with you. I had a guy one time many years ago, and he was older than me, about 40 years older than me, but he really liked me. It was one of these people. I just knew he liked me. He was every time I'd see him, he'd say, "Hey, how's your family?" He'd ask me about me, like how you doing, and it was always just very relaxing to be around him. And I don't even know, I don't even know why he took an interest in me. But I grew up in Ohio. And one fall day, it was a Friday afternoon, all the people that were working in this building with this guy, his name was Dell. They said, why don't, they said, Dell's, he left. I remember he left. He says, hey, I'm going on a hayride. Everyone says, great, have a good time with your family and all that. Got a call from another guy at work the next day. He said, did you hear what happened to Dell? I said, no. He said, he was on the hayride, last night, and the wagon hit a rut and threw him off, and he fell out and broke his back. I said, oh man, that's not cool. He says, well, it's worse than that. He said they took him to the hospital and they did x-rays on his back, and he's got cancer up and down his spine. And they said, if you want to see him, man, you better get over there quick because he's not going to last long. Well, I couldn't believe it, man. This is Dallas, 21 at the time, and it's like this guy really liked me, man, and I liked him. And so I rushed over to the hospital. I walked in. I was the only one there. And I walked into this scene that I will never forget as long as I live. I mean, there was my friend Dale. He was gray. He was staring at the ceiling. And he looked like, and these machines were going, and the smells, and it was like, I'd never seen anything like this before. And man on his last legs, I pulled a chair up next to his bed, and I just sat down. He rolled his eyes over and he looked at me. And I'd never had this happen before. He looked right at me without saying anything. He said, Billy, he says, what are you going to do with the rest of your life? And now this is a dead man talking, right? So I took it very seriously, but I didn't know what to say. I was like stuck. I said, Dell, in my joking way, I make jokes when I'm nervous like this. I said, Dell, I think I'm going to write stupid self-help books the rest of my life. Ha, 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 ha. He wasn't laughing. He just looked at me like I was the dumbest guy I ever saw in his life. And he said something to me that changed my life. He looked right at me and said, Billy, why don't you write great books? Why don't you write great books? I got to tell you something else. And never in my life had I ever had anybody speak something that good into me, speak something better for me into my life. I'd never heard that before. And it went right through, man. It got right inside my head. And I heard someone say, Billy, you can do way better than you think you can. You can do much better. And that changed my life. And I just committed myself that day to doing things that really help people, touch people, make them better on the inside. And I hope that everybody that's on this call tonight understands that I'm saying that to you. Why don't you do great work? Why don't you do great deals? Why don't you go out and make your mark, because this is your opportunity. Because like my friend Dell, man, it could all end tomorrow, and I think we all know that, but sometimes we need to be reminded of it. This is a great opportunity, man. The real estate business is so fantastic. It's open for people who are creative and energetic and willing just to step up and do it. I hope that my MindRev training is useful to people to that end, but if it is, nothing would make me happier. Nothing would make me happier than to see you succeed where you're at. Okay, so I'll get off my soapbox now, Elsa.
Well, we do appreciate everybody being on here tonight. I'm going to give one last chance. Anybody have any questions or anything they'd like to say? Okay, well, we have a quiet group. I will be emailing everyone the replay link to this, and the replay will also be on YouTube, so you can, if you decide this isn't for you now, but you want to do it in the future, you'll be able to go back to it. I can't guarantee that coupon code's going to work for the price.
It'll work, Elsa. It'll work.
He's going to keep that in effect.
Mm-hmm.
But the video will be out there, so you can rewatch this if you'd like to at a later time. And it'll be on the reiresources.com website as well. Well, I thank you, Bill, for being on here tonight.
Thanks so much, Elsa.
And I want to remind everybody that next Tuesday we'll have Bill back to be able to answer your questions on things. So produce some questions that you guys may have for him, and how he may be able to help you and get past some struggles that you might be having. Bill, I want to thank you again.
Thanks, Elsa. Thanks, everybody, for coming.
Everybody have a great evening.